determined 29-year-old Sudanese single mother, full of hope and resilience, poised to embrace a promising future, has not been heard from, drawing concern from her loved ones as detectives investigate the growing mystery. The urgency to discover what happened intensifies. What happens when love becomes fatal? This is the Fatal Attraction Podcast with Fleeing into Danger.
September 26, 2018. It's a typical Wednesday afternoon in Bristol Township, Pennsylvania, a quiet suburb located in the heart of the Mid-Atlantic states.
We're 20 minutes from Philadelphia, an hour from New York City. There's a lot to do in this area.
Bristol is a very small community where everybody knows each other.
You want to move to Bristol if you're looking for peace. You want to get out of the noise.
But today, there is no peace for Bristol Township resident Leslie Turner. Just before 7 p.m., she places an urgent call to Bucks County 911.
911, where's your emergency?
My friend Anna, she's unconscious in her apartment.
She said she was at an apartment complex in Bristol Township to check on her friend Anna Angok, but she was locked out.
I'm outside of the building. I can't even get in her apartment.
And how do you know she's unconscious?
Leslie explained that Anna's father had gotten a phone call from Anna's number saying that something had happened to her.
Her dad got a phone call from somebody that says, come get Anna, she's unconscious.
Since Anna's father lived a couple hours away, he'd asked Leslie to go check on her. But Leslie fears Anna may not be the only one in danger.
She has a baby, a 2-year-old baby. Oh my God.
Police raced to the scene.
Our patrol officers were dispatched, and at that time, they had the dispatchers call for maintenance to unlock the door.
When police were able to get into the apartment, they found Anna in the area of a sofa.
She was unresponsive.
Her 2-year-old daughter was seated in a chair right next to her.
First responders immediately jump into action.
They were able to determine that the child was unharmed, and they were quickly able to get her out of there.
But Anna isn't so lucky.
Officers made the determination that Anna Angok was deceased.
29-year-old single mother Anna Angok had the tenacity and determination of someone much older.
Anna was a survivor. She was spirited. She was smart. She was courageous.
Her family and friends described her more as, the hardworking type, resilient.
She showed me, us small people, we have a lot of strength.
Among her friends, it was no secret where Anna's strength came from.
Anna had come to the United States as a young teenager from the war-torn country of Sudan.
She was alienated from her biological family. She had one brother who went to Australia. I know she had another brother that was in the Midwest.
But to literally flee a country without your family must have been extremely hard.
There's no doubt that Anna was the type of young woman who was willing to work to have a better future.
She had become a medical assistant, and that was part of her caring nature and part of her drive to give back.
On the job, Anna always went above and beyond.
She was like 90, 100 pounds, soaking wet, and the patient that I was assigning her to was a little bit on the heavier side. So I was like, are you sure that you will be able to work this patient? And she's like, I am stronger than I look. Her and that patient had a great relationship. She really loved her.
But there was nobody Anna loved more than her 2-year-old daughter.
She was raising her daughter on her own.
She was determined to raise her daughter with the opportunities she never had.
You want better for your children. You don't want them to go through what you went through.
As busy as Anna kept herself, she didn't have much time for love. But that all changed in April of 2018 when she met 27-year-old Jalile Loper at a local bus stop.
They met coming home from work one day.
I see you here all the time, and I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Jalile.
Anna.
Jalile worked one town over from where Anna lived.
He was a confident and charming guy, and Anna quickly realized it was someone she had a lot in common with.
He was responsible, he had a good job.
The chemistry between the pair was undeniable, but Anna did have some reservations.
Anna was reluctant to get close to Jalile because of the way her ex-boyfriend reacted to her having a 2-year-old.
Anna's ex hadn't shown any interest in having a relationship with her daughter, but Jalile was different.
I have a daughter.
Oh, you have a daughter?
When Anna opened up to him about her daughter, it didn't bother him at all.
I love kids.
By the end of the summer, Anna and Jalile were in a committed relationship.
They were talking about living together. He was genuinely somebody that she could see herself with for a long time.
After being separated from her family at such a young age, Anna was excited about the idea of building a family of her own.
She had her whole life ahead of her.
But now, Anna's lifeless body has been found inside her apartment, and first responders are puzzled as to why.
There were no gunshots, there were no stab wounds. Police didn't know what happened.
The officers on scene believed it may have been drug overdose.
But when detectives arrive, they quickly rule that theory out.
There was no indication of any drugs around. The apartment was very clean, very well kept. The child looked very well cared for.
And a closer look at Anna's body reveals that her death was no accident.
A couple things didn't look right. There were a couple earrings with blood on them on the floor, like they had been ripped out of her ears.
But that's not all.
When I examined her, you can see a slight ligature on her neck.
She was strangled.
It was a homicide.
Stay tuned for more as we move toward uncovering the truth.
That's the sound of your money going further. Because with new McValue at McDonald's, you always get more than you expect. Buy a sausage burrito and add a sausage McMuffin for just $1. Your crew needs fuel before practice? The $5 meal deal is always on time. Late night turn to all night? Get a double cheeseburger and add a McChicken for, just $1. Your money is having a time. New McValue at McDonald's. Get more than you expect. Prices and participation may vary. Valid per item of equal or lesser value.
After years of struggling as a single mom, Anna Angok found love with her new boyfriend, Jalile Loper.
They were both hard workers and they were both invested in Anna's daughter. They started making plans to move in together and start their own family.
But now police have found Anna strangled to death inside her apartment.
It was such a tragic situation. When I heard about it, I cried because I couldn't imagine that happening.
Detectives hope that Anna's cell phone might provide some clues as to who killed her.
It was plugged in charging.
But since the device is locked with a passcode, it's going to take the police some time to get access.
While the phone is sent out for testing, investigators start combing through Anna's apartment.
They were trying to figure out how this murderer even got into the apartment to commit the crime.
There's no forced entry into the door.
A fact which implies that Anna may have willingly let her killer inside.
So over a dozen years of covering crime, murders, and assaults, most of the time, they're not random. Most crime is interpersonal.
This wasn't random. This was done by someone Anna trusted enough to let into her home.
If you're going to kill someone with strangulation, it's a lot more personal. You have to be on top of them, and your body is in contact with them.
Who could have been angry enough with Anna to end her life so brutally? Police wonder if her daughter could be the key to answering that question.
Anna's daughter witnessed her mother being killed right in front of her.
But at just 2 years old, she can barely speak, let alone identify her mother's killer.
It had to be, one of the most traumatic experiences that you could ever have a child go through.
So detectives are hoping Anna's friend, Leslie Turner, can provide more insight.
When they told her Anna was dead, she was in complete shock.
I can't believe it. I just dropped her off at home a few hours ago.
Detectives ask Leslie if she can tell them more about the call she received from Anna's father.
The foster father of the victim, he had received a call saying Anna needs help.
So he called Leslie, who lives close by.
He told her something was wrong and she had to get to the apartment.
He said he got a call from Anna's ID on his phone. When he answered it, it was a man's voice on the line.
But if Anna didn't place the call, who did?
The killer would have been the only person to have access to Anna's phone during this time, so maybe they were feeling some sort of guilt or wanted to get help for Anna's daughter.
Since the killer used Anna's phone, they have no way to trace his identity.
And that's why he used that cell phone, not anybody else's cell phone.
However, detectives soon discover that the call to Anna's father may not have been the only call her killer made.
While interviewing Leslie, detectives received word from a Bristol Township police officer who had responded to Anna's apartment complex shortly before her body was found.
So on September 26th at about 6 p.m., Bucks County 911 received a call for help from the apartment complex.
911, where is the emergency?
All those apartments, please, hurry.
The caller wouldn't provide his name, but he did give them Anna's apartment number.
Police showed up, and they looked around. They didn't find anything immediately out of the ordinary, so they left.
It was an anonymous call from a deactivated cell phone, which essentially means it's a cell phone that's not on a network, but any cell phone, as long as you still have battery power, you can still call 911 on it.
Thank you, officer.
Detectives suspect that this call was also placed by Anna's killer. And when they ask Leslie if she has any idea who that could be, she doesn't hold back.
That's when we learned that Anna was being stalked.
Anna was getting all of these anonymous text messages. There were hundreds of them.
Some were threatening to hurt her, and it was just making her a little unnerving.
Obviously, something like this would freak anyone out.
Leslie believed it was Anna's ex-boyfriend, a guy named Isaiah Bradley.
Detectives investigating the murder of Anna Angok have just learned that she believed her ex-boyfriend, Isaiah Bradley, had been sending her threatening text messages.
Anna had filed police reports prior to her murder indicating that she believed she was being stalked.
Leslie said the messages that Anna had been receiving were extremely explicit and threatening.
Who is this from?
She was getting text messages to the extent of, I'm gonna get you.
Some of the texts even mentioned Anna's current boyfriend, Jalile Loper.
The text messages essentially said, "Not even your new boyfriend can protect you now."
But according to Leslie, Anna was never able to prove that Isaiah was sending the texts.
They were from numbers that weren't in her phone, so from unknown numbers.
The numbers were always different, but the messages were the same.
Anna believed that Isaiah may be sending these text messages, but she had no proof.
If it wasn't Isaiah, I don't know who it could be.
When you consider the text about Jalile, it makes perfect sense that whoever was doing this was a romantic rival.
The next morning, Anna's grieving foster father arrives in Bristol Township to speak with detectives, and he echoes Leslie's suspicions about Isaiah.
Anna's father knew Isaiah, knew that they had had problems in the past.
He was so controlling.
Isaiah was very traditional and kind of expected Anna to be somewhat subservient to him.
He seemed very, by all accounts, possessive of her.
Not to mention, Isaiah didn't like that Anna had a child from a previous relationship.
Anna wanted so badly for them to be a family, But Isaiah didn't want to accept Anna's daughter as his own. He didn't want to have any kind of relationship with her.
Why can't we focus on us? I am not interested in being someone else's dad right now.
Isaiah, she's my whole world. If you want me in your life, she's gonna be there too.
Her father said that Anna felt Isaiah almost seemed annoyed at the possibility of becoming a step-parent, so she just ended things.
I'm done.
A few months later, Anna began dating Jalile. Was Isaiah jealous that she had moved on to another man?
Anna's father also believed that Isaiah may be sending these text messages.
Anna was a great person. She didn't seem to have any other enemies.
By the end of the first morning, we were targeting Isaiah. He was the main suspect at that point.
Later that day, detectives bring Isaiah Bradley in for questioning, and his demeanor gives them pause.
He was legitimately upset when, during the course of the interview, that he had learned that Anna had been killed.
But detectives aren't convinced Isaiah's reaction is genuine.
We know he didn't get along.
They start to lay out everything they've been learning about his relationship with Anna.
Despite their accusations, Isaiah steadfastly maintains his innocence.
You're right. She hated me, but I did not kill her.
Isaiah had denied knowing anything about the text messages. He claimed he never sent them. He said he didn't know how to contact her.
I don't even know where she lives. I don't even have a phone number anymore. Look.
He essentially said, I didn't do that. I don't know what you're talking about. He gave us his phone.
Isaiah says he didn't even know Anna was seeing a new man. But is he telling the truth?
We extracted all the data from his cell phone, all his apps, all his texting, everything.
When the results come in, it's the last thing the detectives expected to see.
There was nothing on his cell phone that would link him to the numbers that we had gotten from Anna's cell phone. And there was no indication that they had been recently deleted.
By all indications, Isaiah is telling the truth.
There's no evidence whatsoever on Isaiah's phone to link him to any recent contact with Anna.
While detectives find themselves back at square one, Anna's loved ones are only beginning to grapple with the reality of their loss.
The news of Anna's passing, it really affected us. It's just tough to know that something like this could happen to someone so innocent in life.
Detectives are more determined than ever to get to the bottom of what happened to Anna. And when they receive the results of her autopsy, it verifies their initial suspicions.
The findings confirmed that she had a strangulation death, and more than likely a small ligature was used.
But it also adds more tragedy to the case.
Anna Angok, at the time of her death, was pregnant with a boy.
That makes this a double homicide.
Stay tuned for more as we move toward uncovering the truth.
That's the sound of your money going further. Because with new McValue at McDonald's, you always get more than you expect. Buy a sausage burrito and add a sausage McMuffin for just $1. Your crew needs fuel before practice? The $5 meal deal is always on time. Late night turn to all night? Get a double cheeseburger and add a McChicken for, just $1. Your money is having a time. New McValue at McDonald's. Get more than you expect. Prices and participation may vary. Valid per item of equal or lesser value.
24 hours into their murder investigation, Bristol Township detectives have just learned that 29-year-old Anna Angok was pregnant when she was strangled to death in her apartment.
She was pregnant with a boy, and she was 5 to 6 weeks along.
That raises all sorts of questions for the investigation. Who was the father, and did the pregnancy have something to do with her murder?
Police have already cleared Anna's ex-boyfriend, Isaiah Bradley. Now, they want to speak to her new flame, Jalile Loper.
It seemed likely that Jalile was the father of Anna's unborn child, which gives him a possible motive.
But before they bring Jalile in for questioning, Investigators do a little digging into his background.
They plug his name into the police database and they come up with some pretty alarming things.
He was sentenced to prison for armed robbery, and then he was let out to a halfway house.
He was actually living in a house that transitions you from prison to living in normal society.
The forensic analysis of Anna's cell phone also gives detectives access to the couple's communications.
They found all sorts of heated messages between Anna and Jalile the weeks before her murder.
Most of their arguments had to do with the pregnancy.
She was going to follow through with the pregnancy, go through full term, and have the child.
But Jalile wasn't supportive.
If the father is also wanting you to have an abortion or what have you, at that point, it's not his choice because that's her body. There's a controlling and manipulative aspect to what's going on in a relationship.
To detective surprise, it appears Anna had actually reached her breaking point with Jalile shortly before she was found dead.
She had literally ended it like, I'm done, we're not doing this.
You couldn't ask for a more crystal clear motive than that.
Jalile really fell into place as a key suspect.
But before they confront him, detectives try to bolster their case by talking with Anna's daughter.
Even though Anna's daughter was only 2 years old, they believed that she may have seen her mother's killer. So they brought in an expert to see if maybe that expert could get any information out of the little girl.
But we have detectives that are trained in forensic interviews with young children.
If you don't mind, I have a few pictures to show you today, okay?
Okay.
The detective brings 2 photos to show Anna's daughter, one of Isaiah Bradley and one of Jalile Loper.
He had laid a picture out of Isaiah, and the child had no reaction whatsoever. He then did it a second time with a picture of Jalile Loper, and the child had a visible reaction.
With their case looking stronger by the minute, detectives attempt to contact Jalile, but are forced to issue an APB. Then, instead of turning himself in, he leaves them a series of strange voicemails.
Hi, Detective. This is Jalile Loper. If y'all know something about Anna, please tell me. Like, I'm over here worried to death. I'll need to know that she's okay. So please, as soon as you get this message, please call me. It's Jalile Loper again. Can somebody let me know something? Like, I've been texting and calling her. I mean, I've been concerned since last night. So whenever you get these messages, please call me back.
Detectives also receive a call from Jalile's boss at the food plant.
The employer says, oh, Jalile Loper showed up for work today, but he's upset and he's saying something about his girlfriend getting killed and he's going to leave.
The detectives immediately jump in the car and they head down to the plant to see if they can intercept Jalile.
We go over and try to meet him at his place of employment before he leaves. Well, lo and behold, when we're pulling up, he's getting on the bus. So essentially, the bus is pulling off as we're pulling up behind it.
Still, the visit to his job sparks a quick response from Jalile.
Hi, again, it's Jalile Loper. You went to my job, and now they're questioning me about what's going on. I could possibly lose my job. So now I'm kind of like urgent to know what's going on. I'm willing to talk to y'all. I have nothing to hide, nothing.
Jalile, we need you to come down to the precinct immediately.
On September 28th, 2 days after Anna was murdered, Jalile finally shows up at the police station.
We start interviewing him. And initially, he came off as calm and cooperative and wanted to help us.
Jalile is also upfront with the investigators about his troubled past.
What did they say you did?
Forever. I did 4 years and 2 months.
Jalile admits that he knew Anna was pregnant with his child, but contrary to the text messages, he claims to have been excited about the new baby.
I was like, well, how do you know he's pregnant? He's like, well, because she took a pregnancy test.
I actually have the pregnancy test in my book bag now. Y'all can have it if y'all need DNA or something to test it.
Jalile tells detectives that he believes there's only one person who could be responsible for his girlfriend's murder: Isaiah Bradley.
She told me that, and she told her dad that she was receiving text messages from him threatening her.
And Jalile says Isaiah's harassment went beyond unwanted texts.
He was following her. She said he kept popping up on her when she would get off the bus, and he would follow her and talk to her. And she asked me, did I have any mace or pepper spray or a pocket knife or something, just in case he tried to do something to her.
The detectives had already cleared Isaiah, so this kind of comes as a little suspicious. At this point, they turn the conversation towards the night of the murder.
He gives us his alibi of where he was.
After I got off work at 3:30, I had to wait on a bus to come all the way back around, which was like 4:25.
Jalile admits he took the bus to the apartment complex where Anna lived, but he says he wasn't there to visit his girlfriend.
He says, I'm there to see my other friend, Dave Hudson, who lives in the next building over.
And then you hung out there for like an hour. We played basketball right there in the complex.
After their game, Jalile says that Dave gave him a ride back to the bus stop.
Jalile has to catch the bus back to the halfway house to make sure he's not late because he has to be in by a certain time.
They left Dave's apartment around 6 o'clock, which means that Jalile would have been with Dave Hudson during that entire window when Anna could have been killed.
Basically, Dave Hudson is his alibi.
But Jalile admits that on their way out of the apartment complex, something unusual caught his attention.
He goes, when Dave is driving me back to the bus stop so I can catch the bus, I see an ambulance by Anna's apartment.
The ambulance was in front of her building, and I was like, bro, like, I don't know, like something fishy going on. And I was like, well, let me go make sure she's okay.
But Jalile says that when he went to check on Anna, everything seemed fine.
I rung the buzzer, she didn't answer, and then I stepped back out and I looked up at her window because it's right above the door and her lights was off, and I was like, bro, I just don't think she's home. And we got the car and left.
Jalile says it wasn't until the next day that he learned the horrible truth.
When he still hadn't heard from Anna the following morning, Jalile got more concerned and started calling around to the local hospitals and eventually to the morgue.
I called the coroner and I was like, hi, my name's Jalile Loper, and I'm just calling to see if you have my girlfriend there. He was like, yeah, she here. And I just broke down. I mean, that's my baby. I love her.
Detectives aren't buying Jalile's sob story.
That was like a fake emotion. You could tell he's trying to make himself cry, but no tears are coming out.
The problem is that your story doesn't make a lot of sense.
Jalile had a motive to hurt Anna, and now he's placed himself at her apartment at the time of the murder.
Once we weren't buying his story, you could tell a change in him.
Tell us what happened, Jalile.
What are you talking about?
When you were at the apartment.
Stay tuned for more as we move toward uncovering the truth.
Jalile Loper has admitted to being at his girlfriend Anna's apartment complex on the afternoon of her murder. He claims he never saw her, but investigators don't believe him.
He was trying to play he's the victim. He's the one that lost a loved one, but it's not a genuine emotion.
It's not going to bode well for you if you lie. We've been doing this for a while, and there's more to this story than what you're telling us.
They confronted him with those text messages that Anna had ended their relationship.
It looks like she's breaking up with you.
Yeah, well, she always do. We always break up and get back together. That's what we do.
As the police turn up the pressure, Jalile starts to get defensive.
I'm asking.
I give up, man.
Once we start confronting him with inconsistencies on his story, he's just getting agitated. Like, he's a big guy. He's bigger than me. At one point, it was like, wow, is this going to go south fast?
I don't understand the barrage of questions. Y'all making it seem like I did this.
At that point, he becomes very angry, and he ends the interview with us.
You don't want to talk to us any longer?
No, because y'all just turned this to something else.
Despite their belief that Jalile is Anna's killer, detectives will need concrete evidence in order to officially charge him with her murder.
We said, all right, you're free to go, but I'm keeping your phone for evidence.
I'm taking your phone because you told me this was your major communication to her. So I would like to search your phone.
While the device is sent out for testing, detectives are eager to follow up on Jalile's alibi. They immediately reach out to Dave Hudson.
We're like, hey, Dave, we'd like to talk to you. He's like, nah, I have nothing to say to you guys. You're the cops. I'm like, really? I said, it's in reference to a homicide. He's like, what?
He agreed to come in for an interview.
He comes to Bristol Township Police Department. We sit down in the same manner we always do. We interview him, and he seems like he's very forthright.
Dave confirms that he knows Jalile Loper.
Are you guys friends? Tight friends?
Oh, yeah.
Dave also confirms that he saw Jalile on the day Anna was killed.
He says Jalile had showed up at his apartment asking for a ride.
He asked me to give him a ride to the Bristol.
That was Wednesday?
Yeah.
Everything Dave was saying was lining up with what Jalile had already told police.
But when detectives start digging into the details, the two men's stories start to diverge.
What time was that about?
That's about like 6:15.
That's when he called you for a ride to...
That's when he asked me to take him to the
bus stop.
Yes.
In his interview, Jalile told detectives that he got to Dave's apartment before 5 o'clock. So now, that timeline is not adding up.
And it's not the only inconsistency.
Was he over at your place, or were you shooting hoops with him?
Oh, no.
Jalile had claimed that they had played basketball for about an hour that afternoon.
If Jalile was to say, I was hanging out from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock on Wednesday, and we were playing basketball, would that be accurate?
Wednesday?
This Wednesday, 2 days ago.
No.
Jalile's alibi just wasn't adding up.
Detectives are also able to find evidence that supports Dave's version of events.
Dave ends up telling us, oh yeah, I stopped at a local convenience store, got gas. We ended up pulling the video, pulling the register receipts, and it shows, they're in there. So Dave Hudson's story is pretty much lining up.
Which means that Jalile Loper must be lying.
Detectives were able to find things that didn't add up.
Dave Hudson's story is just blowing Jalile Loper's alibi out of the water.
But before they let him go, investigators have one more question for Dave.
I just want to play something for you, and if you recognize the voice, if you tell me who you think it is, if you recognize it.
They hit play on the tape, and it was that anonymous 911 call that was made just before Anna's friend called police.
To detectives, the call already sounds eerily similar to Jalile's voice. But if Dave will go on record to confirm, it will strengthen their case even more.
Stay tuned for more as we move toward uncovering the truth.
That's the sound of your money going further. Because with new McValue at McDonald's, you always get more than you expect. Buy a sausage burrito and add a sausage McMuffin for just $1. Your crew needs fuel before practice? The $5 meal deal is always on time. Late night turn to all night? Get a double cheeseburger and add a McChicken for, just $1. Your money is having a time. New McValue at McDonald's. Get more than you expect. Prices and participation may vary. Valid per item of equal or lesser value.
Jalile Loper's friend, Dave Hudson, has just identified him as the person who made the anonymous call to 911 about Anna Angok's murder.
All those apartments, please, hurry.
He said 100%, no doubt in my mind, that is Jalile Loper.
That means that Jalile knew that Anna was dead before anyone else. And the fact that he wasn't with Dave that afternoon means that he had the opportunity to commit the crime.
For Jalile, it became harder for him to keep up an alibi when they had evidence that said otherwise.
Anything you say before I have to record it?
After speaking with Dave, detectives receive even more evidence against Jalile.
The report comes back on Jalile's cell phone, and it indicates that it was likely Jalile, rather than Isaiah, sending those threatening text messages to Anna.
We did multiple search warrants for his accounts. And when Jalile Loper was registering for his Text Now account, he actually used his real name and was sending these threatening texts.
Jalile's search history is just as damning.
He's the one searching for abortion clinics. He's the one searching for how to get rid of a child. And something like an hour after the police are called to Anna's apartment, Jalile Loper has Google searches on his phone: murder in Croydon, girl killed at Glen Hollow Apartments.
It's more than enough evidence to take to the DA for formal charges.
The district attorney's office made the determination that we had enough probable cause to arrest Jalile Loper.
Jalile was charged with homicide, murder of an unborn child, and counts of stalking.
This was considered a capital crime in Pennsylvania, and the prosecution was planning on pursuing the death penalty.
But in the end, Jalile's case never makes it to trial.
The prosecutors in the case talked to Jalile, and they talked to his attorney, and they knew they had a lot of evidence against him.
Negotiations were made that if the Commonwealth came off the death penalty, that Jalile Loper would be willing to plead guilty. And coupled with that, he had to give a full confession.
Jalile and his legal team agree to the prosecution's terms.
I'm actually glad he took a deal because the evidence truly showed that he was guilty of what he did.
On October 8th, 2021, Jalile sits down with investigators again, this time to tell the truth.
In his confession, Jalile confirmed what police already knew through those text messages, that Jalile and Anna's relationship was falling apart.
Jalile says the couple couldn't come to terms about the pregnancy, and Anna had had enough.
Anna knew that she didn't want to be with her boyfriend anymore, and that she was trying to figure out a way to get away from him.
She was ending the relationship.
But Jalile admits he wasn't ready to walk away.
After Anna broke up with him over text, Jalile said he went to her apartment to confront her.
He just couldn't let go of that final grasp of her.
Jalile, this just isn't working.
What do you mean? We're having a baby.
According to Jalile, he was the one who wanted to keep the baby.
He said that they got in an argument because she told him that she wanted to get rid of the baby, and he did not want her to.
Well, maybe I don't want to do that with you.
He was accusing her of getting an abortion.
The argument quickly became heated.
He went in a rage.
He then took a cell phone cord and put it around her neck.
He literally choked the life out of her.
During this whole struggle, Anna's 2-year-old daughter is sitting in a recliner watching the whole thing go down.
Then after, he's giving her a snack and a juice box.
What that child witnessed is unimaginable.
I think it's a tragic situation that a child so young is exposed to such violence.
Wake up.
child's mind is something that's really fragile.
Even at 2 years old, that is going to affect you for the rest of your life.
Even after his confession, doubts remain about whether Jalile is being totally honest about what happened.
There is no indication whatsoever that Anna had looked into having an abortion or had contemplated an abortion. From speaking with her family and friends, that is something that Anna would not do.
Regardless of his motive, the terms of Jalile's plea deal and sentencing remain the same.
In October 2021, Jalile was sentenced to 39 to 78 years in a state prison. The soonest he'll ever get out of prison, he'll be in his 70s.
For those who loved Anna, Jalile's fate offers little comfort.
Honestly, I don't think that his sentence can do anything to bring back or satisfy her family and friends to what he actually did.
Anna came to this country for a better life for herself and for her daughter, only to get killed in her own apartment.
And, this little girl has to grow up without her mother. No child should ever have to go through that.
The tragedy of Anna Angok and the impact it had on her child will likely leave a lasting effect forever. No child should ever have to experience such turmoil. This tragedy reminds us that love can take an unexpected, deadly turn, even from those who promise to support and care for us. Anna Angok's legacy as a determined woman dedicated to creating a better life for her daughter will be remembered with love and admiration by those who loved her. Coming up on the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
She was a determined young woman chasing her dreams.
She was on her way. She had a lot of ambition.
She was a bright light, a shining star.
One that burned out far too soon.
The phone call came in. You need to get to the hospital.
They said that my daughter has been shot.
That was a shock.
I couldn't believe that this was real.
In a single heartbeat, the life of an ambitious woman takes a dramatic turn, leaving her world completely changed forever. What unexpected twist of fate could have sparked such a shift in her journey? Tune in to the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast. We will see you in the next episode.